जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जना यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajakatarishtottara Satar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajakatarishtottara Satar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Renunciation of Kardama. Shri Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama Ki Jai. Text number 33. Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam. Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam. Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam. Kalam Kavim Trivratam Lokapalam. Kalam Kavim Trivratam Lokapalam. Kalam Kavim Trivratam Lokapalam. Atma Anubhutya Anugata Prapancham. Atma Anubhutya Anugata Prapancham. Atma Anubhutya Anugata Prapancham. Swachhanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. Swachhanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. Swachhanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam. Kalam Kavim Trivratam Lokapalam. Atmanubhutyanugata Prapancham. Swachhanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. Param Pradhanam Purusham Mahantam. Kalam Kavim Trivratam Lokapalam. Atmanubhutyanugata Prapancham. Swachhanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. Param, transcendental. Pradhanam, supreme. Purusham, person. Mahantam, who is the origin of the material world. Kalam, who is time. Kavim, fully cognizant. Trivritam, three modes of material nature. Lokapalam, who is the maintainer of all the universes. Atma, in himself. Anubhutya, by internal potency. Anugata, dissolved. Prapancham, whose material manifestations. Swachanda, independently. Shaktim, who is powerful. Kapilam, to Lord Kapila. Prapadye, I surrender. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is the fully cognizant maintainer of all the universes under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestations after their dissolution. Kindly repeat. I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is the fully cognizant maintainer of all the universes under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestations after their dissolution. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The six opulences, wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge and renunciation, are indicated here by Karda Mumuni, who addresses Kapila Muni, his son, as Param. The word Param is used in the beginning of Srimad-Bhagavatam in the phrase Param Satyam to refer to the Summum Bonum or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param is explained further by the next word, Pradhanam, which means the chief, the origin, the source of everything, Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not formless. He is Purusham, or the enjoyer, the original person. He is the time element and is all cognizant. He knows everything, past, present and future, as confirmed in Bhagavad-gita. The Lord says, I know everything, present, past and future, in every corner of the universe. The material world, which is moving under the spell of the three modes of material nature, is also a manifestation of His energy. Parasya Shaktir Vividha Iva Shruyate. Everything that we see is an interaction of His energies. Svetasvatara Upanishad. Parasya Brahmanaha Shaktis Tathedam Akhilam Jagat. This is the version of the Vishnu Purana. We can understand that whatever we see is an interaction of the three modes of material nature. But actually, it is all an interaction of the Lord's energy. Lokapalam, He is actually the maintainer of all living entities. Nityo Nityanam, He is the chief of all living entities. He is one, but He maintains many, many living entities. God maintains all other living entities, but no one can maintain God. That is His Swachanda Shakti. He is not dependent on others. Someone may call himself independent, but he is still dependent on someone higher. The personality of Godhead, however, is absolute. There is no one higher than or equal to Him. Kapila Muni appeared as the son of Kardama Muni, But because Kapila is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kardama Muni offered respectful obeisances unto him with full surrender. Another word in this verse is very important. Atmanubhutyanugata prapancham. The Lord descends either as Kapila or Rama, Narasimha or Varaha, and whatever forms he assumes in the material world are all manifestations of his own personal internal energy. They are never forms of the material energy. The ordinary living entities who are manifested in this material world have bodies created by the material energy. But when Krishna or any one of his expansions or parts of the expansions descends on this material world, although he appears to have a material body, his body is not material. He always has a transcendental body. But fools and rascals, who are called Mudas, consider him one of them, and therefore they deride him. They refuse to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they cannot understand him. In Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, Avajananti ma mudaha. Those who are rascals and fools deride me. When God descends in a form, this does not mean that he assumes his form with the help of the material energy. He manifests his spiritual form as he exists in his spiritual kingdom. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namavo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So now we are in the middle of the rainy season in India. Rainy season in India starts about July month. That's when the monsoon season sets in. This year, in July, there was excessive rainfall. And we saw how many rivers flooded. Yamuna also flooded. And many parts of Delhi got flooded with water. And the water almost reached till the Supreme Court. And they had to evacuate many people. And the water of Yamuna even entered many places in Vrindavan Dham also. Somebody had posted one video about in Vrindavan, all the gullies filled with water. And some local priests, they are taking out Thakurji, the Lord Krishna's deity, on a boat. And they have created a festival out of that. So for human beings, it is great distress, but for the Lord, it is vihara. So July passed like this with heavy rainfall. Then August, now the statisticians, they are saying, August has received about 29% less rainfall than it should. But at the same time, some places like Uttarakhand, Himachal, witnessing heavy rainfall, cloudbursts, houses are being swept away. Some people even got killed, got swept away by the floods. And both the states are battling. They have called the national disaster response teams, trying to evacuate people to safer areas, like that. Even in Uttarakhand also, Joshimath, so many days, so many months, there have been cracks appearing in different houses. Now those cracks are widening, deepening. Government is also concerned, people are concerned, they're leaving those places and going away. All these things are happening. Whenever the monsoon season sets in, everybody becomes active like this, calculating how many millimeters of rainfall has come, where it is flooding, where it is less rainfall, how much percentage rainfall compared to last year. When we look at monsoon season, we start looking at all these parameters. Interestingly, in the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami describes the rainy season in Vrindavan when Krishna was present 5,000 years ago. Now Sukadeva Goswami, he is not a weatherman, he is not a weather forecaster. So why should he describe the rainy season? Rainy season everyone knows. Clouds come, it rains, rivers flood, etc., etc. And of course, another thing is the prices of vegetables shoot up. That's another consequence of the monsoon season. But generally, people in tropical locations, especially countries like India, the rainy season is very welcome. Why? Because the summer season has just passed, and especially in North India, temperatures go very high, 48 degrees centigrade, 46 degrees centigrade. It becomes very oppressive heat. And when rainy season comes, everybody gets a respite. So, why should Sukadeva Goswami describe all this? These are all material things. Sukadeva Goswami is a great devotee. He is completely immersed in Krishna Prema. Now, interestingly, when Sukadeva Goswami describes the rainy season, he does not describe it in terms of the parameters of how many millimeters of rainfall fell, whether it was more or less compared to the previous years, how much more, how much less, how much percentage more, where flooding happened. He doesn't talk about all that. Instead, when he describes the rainy season in Vrindavan, because of his immersion in Krishna Prema, he is able to see everything in relation to Krishna. This is the symptom of a Mahabhagavata. When a Mahabhagavata sees anything, he does not see the material form of that thing, of that object. So when he sees an object, he sees Krishna in everything. He sees how Krishna is acting in that situation. He sees how Krishna's energies are manifesting these objects. That is what the pure devotee perceives. So, describing the rainy season, Sukadeva Goswami says, Dhanur viyati mahendram nirgunam cha guninyabhat vyakte gunavyatikare agunavan purusho yatha. Very beautifully he describes. He says, you see, one of the qualities of a pure devotee is that he is a poet. So Sukadeva Goswami is also very poetically describing the rainy season. Like I said, today's weathermen or scientists, if you ask them to describe rainy season, it will all be very dry. So many millimeters of rainfall came, so much percentage, the temperature reduced to this much, and here there was flood, here there was no flood, etc., etc., all those kind of things. But the way Sukadeva Goswami describes, Dhanur Vyati Mahendram, during the rainy season in Vrindavan, the Dhanu, the bow of Indra, manifested. What is the bow of Indra? The bow of Indra is the rainbow. See how beautifully he is describing. Dhanur Vyati Mahendram, the bow of Indra manifested. When it rains, we all know when it rains nicely, rainbows are seen in the sky. So in Vrindavan also this rainbow was seen. Now how do you connect a rainbow to spirituality? So he says, Sukadeva Goswami says, Dhanur Vyati Mahendram Nirgunam cha Guninyabhat. That bow of Indra is without guna, but still it manifests in the sky which is full of guna. Gunini Abhat. it manifests itself in the sky which is full of guna. Vyakte guna vyatikare. Similarly, he says, in the material world which is full of interactions of gunas, what happens? Vyakte guna vyatikare agunavan purusho yatha. Purusha, the aguna purusha, the purusha without gunas, he also manifests himself. So what is Sukadeva Goswami saying? Like the bow of Indra manifests itself in the sky full of guna, although that bow is without gunas, similarly, the Supreme Lord, who is aguna, who is without gunas, he also manifests in this material world which is full of interactions of gunas. Now this verse is full of guna, aguna, nirguna. How do you understand this? Actually, Sanskrit language is such that every word can have multiple meanings. Now, which meaning is applicable in which context has to be determined according to the contextual consideration. So, when we look at verses like this, it is very difficult to comprehend what actually is the meaning, unless we approach a Vaishnava Acharya. Vaishnava Acharyas can explain to us exactly what it means. So, in the first part of this verse, where Sukadeva Goswami is describing the rainbow, when he says that the rainbow or the bow of Mahendra is nirguna, means it is without a string. The word guna can mean quality, and another meaning of the word guna is string or rope. So, what he is saying is, normally, when we look at a bow in this material world, a bow is curved in shape. It is kept in its position of being curved by a string tied across the two ends. The string is tied tightly to keep the bow in the curved position, curved shape. If you untie the string, the bow will straighten out. So, generally, when we string a bow, the string is pulled taut and the two ends are tied, so that when you pull the arrow, the bow will spring back with force and the arrow will be ejected out. Shri Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. That is how an arrow functions. So, in the material world, the bow is kept in the curved shape by tying a string across its two ends. But Dhanur Vyati Mahendram Nirgunam, the bow of Mahendra, the rainbow, is in a fully curved position, but there is no string attaching its two ends. And where is this rainbow manifested? This bow of Indra is manifested in the sky, which is full of Gunini Abhat, which is full of qualities, material qualities like sound, etc. Sound, form, we can see the sky. Sound travels through space. So, the sky is full of material qualities. And in that sky full of material qualities is manifested the bow of Indra, which is kept in its curved shape without any string to tie its ends to keep it in shape. So, the rainbow looks exactly like an ordinary bow, but it is extraordinary because to keep an ordinary bow in shape, you require a string, whereas the rainbow maintains its shape without any string. That means the rainbow appears like an ordinary bow, but it is not comparable to an ordinary bow. So, similarly, what Sukadeva Goswami is saying, that Vyakte Guna Vyatikare, this material world is Guna Vyatikara. It is a combination of many qualities. It's a combination of primarily three qualities: Satoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. This material world, whatever we see, whatever forms we see, they are all manifestations born out of the combination of the three modes of material nature. So, in that guna vyatikare, in this material world which is completely born out of, manifested out of a combination of the three modes of material nature, Vyakte Purushaha, the Supreme Lord also manifests himself. Krishna descends. Sukadeva Goswami is specifically talking about Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is also descended. But Agunavan Purusho Yatha. But that Krishna, he is Agunavan Purusha. He is not contaminated by these three modes of material nature. Exactly like the rainbow, which manifests itself in the sky. And the sky is full of material qualities. And the rainbow manifests itself in the sky without resting on a string. Similarly, all forms in this material world are resting on the three modes of material nature. All the forms which we see of humans, animals, birds, trees, mountains, planets, all forms that we see in this material world are resting upon the three modes of material nature. Without the three modes of material nature, without the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance, these material forms cannot be manifested. But when Krishna descends as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appears exactly like a human being. 2 arms, 2 eyes, he has a beautiful face, exactly like a 200 human being he appears. But his form, Krishna's form, is not dependent upon the three modes of material nature. Exactly like the rainbow is not dependent upon a string to keep its position, to keep its curved shape in position. Similarly, Krishna, when he descends, Krishna's form is not dependent upon the three modes of material nature. In other words, Krishna's form is completely spiritual and transcendental, and it is not material like our forms. Although Krishna appears like an ordinary human being, his form is not that of an ordinary human being. So, if this is the truth, then why people are not able to understand it? Many people, they say, Krishna is also ordinary person like us. Some people say that Krishna was an illusory personality, Krishna did not exist, and all these kind of, it is all stories, mythology, etc. So why people are not able to understand this? That Krishna descended, although he appeared to be like an ordinary human being, he was not dependent upon the material. He was not limited by the three modes of material nature. So therefore, when Krishna performs wonderful pastimes like lifting the Govardhana hill, what happens is, people when they read it, they say this is all stories, this is all myth. How can a person lift a mountain, that too on one finger, and hold it up for 7 days? If you are simply told, keep your hands raised, just like that in the air for 7 minutes also, your shoulder will start paining. Forget about 7 days. And here Krishna is holding up his hand 7 days continuously. Not only is he holding up his hand, he is holding the Govardhana hill also on his little finger. So when people hear this, they say, how is it possible? How can a person keep his hand upraised for 7 days continuously, forget about raising a mountain? So this is all story. They dismiss it. What they don't realize is, Krishna's form is not like ours. We are limited by so many constraints. We are completely under the control of the three modes of material nature. Whereas Krishna is completely transcendental. He can do anything he wants. When Krishna can float so many planets in the sky, big planets like the sun, earth, Jupiter, they are all floating in the sky, floating in space. So if Krishna can float such big planets in outer space, why can't he float one simple small mountain on his little finger? What is the difficulty for him? No difficulty. So people fail to understand this. So Sukadeva Goswami describes this inability of the people to understand Krishna with another beautiful comparison to the rainy season. He says that Shrutva Parjanya Ninadam, Mandukaha Sasrujur Giraha. So he says, Parjanya Ninadam Shrutva. Parjanya means rain. So, Parjanya Ninadam, when it rains, you hear the water falling, isn't it? A beautiful sound comes. It's very pleasing to hear when it rains. Parjanya Ninadam Shrutva, in the forests of Vrindavan, when it rained, when the sound of the water splattering on the ground was heard due to the rain, what happened is, Mandukaha Sasrujur Giraha. The Mandukaha, all the frogs, Sasrujur Giraha, they started croaking. It's natural when the monsoon season starts, when the first rain comes, and then there is thunder and lightning, the frogs also come out and they start croaking. Especially in rural areas or forest areas, if you go, this is a common experience. You can see all the small tadpoles, frogs, and all these creatures coming out, and they start croaking, making noises. Sukadeva Goswami is observing this, and he is saying that Parjanya Ninadam Shrutva Mandukaha Sasrujur Giraha. Hearing the rainfall, the sound of the water splattering, all the frogs started croaking. And this he compares, he says that Tushnim Shayanaha Pragyadvad Brahmanaha Niyamatyaye. He says this is like Brahmana Niyamatyaye. So the students who are learning Vedic science, what happens is Shayanaha Tushnim Yadvat. So they appear to be sleeping. When the students in the Gurukula who are supposed to be engaged in studying the Vedic scriptures, when they are sleeping, what happens? Everything is very silent. And then suddenly, in the morning, what happens is alarm bell rings. And when the alarm bell rings, everybody has to wake up early in the morning, 1.5 hours before sunrise, during the Brahma Muhurta. And Niyamatyaye, early morning duties they have to finish, take bath, chant their Gayatri, etc., all these kind of things. And then what happens? They have to engage in reciting the verses from the Vedic scriptures. All the mantras they start reciting. In our case, of course, we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As soon as we get up early in the morning, we take our bath, come to the temple hall, witness the Mangalarati with beautiful kirtan, Samsara Davan Lalida, and then immediately we sit down and then we start chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you can see, before we wake up, everything is very silent. And the moment 4:30 a.m., the Shankha blows, then a lot of noise. Kirtan, Mridanga, Kartal, singing, and then Hare Krishna Mantra, Japa. We also bring out so much noise. So exactly like the frogs start croaking when the rainfall comes, similarly, the students of the Vedic scriptures, they also start chanting their mantras loudly at the stroke of Brahma Muhurta. So this is how Sukadeva Goswami explains. Now Prabhupada gives another wonderful meaning to this. Prabhupada says that in Kali Yuga, all the human beings, they are asleep. Asleep to what? They are asleep to spiritual life. In Kali Yuga, everyone is interested in increasing the sense gratification. Everyone talks about economic development, advancement of science and technology, improving the material comforts of life. We also have something called happiness index. Every year, some body, I don't know which body, they publish it. How do they publish it? They assess the citizens of every country and they publish every country, they rank every country on the happiness index. What constitutes happiness index? Whether they have access to television, whether they have access to fridge, whether they have access to material education, how much is their per capita income, how advanced is the medical facilities in their country, So all material comforts they assess, and if they have access to the latest electronic gadgets, latest televisions, latest refrigerators, and all the latest medicines are available, and multi-speciality hospitals are there, then they say the happiness index is very high. And normally wherever this happiness index is high, the number of suicides also will be very high. It is an inexplicable phenomenon. People are very happy, so happy that they are committing suicide. So these are all perverse forms of assessing happiness. They don't know what is real happiness. So in Kali Yuga, people are so blind. They think material happiness, increasing sense gratification means increasing happiness. Actually, it's the reverse. Krishna also tells in the Bhagavad-gita that Yesi sansparshaja bhoga dukkhayo nayayevate. What does Krishna tell in the Bhagavad-gita? Whatever happiness you gain out of sense gratification, it will only end up in distress. Dukkhayo nayayevate. They are the sources of distress actually. We don't recognize that. In Kali Yuga, people are so blinded. They are totally asleep to spiritual facts, and therefore they cannot comprehend these things. But even though in Kali Yuga, people are asleep like this, Prabhupada says, upon the calling of a great Acharya, the people wake up to spiritual knowledge and they start chanting Krishna's holy names. This is actually what Prabhupada has done, you see. All of us were asleep to spiritual reality. But upon the calling of Prabhupada, what has happened? We were all people who used to, at least I was a person who used to sleep till about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. Never used to get up earlier than that when I was outside. And my parents, they would all wake up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. They would be, going on. Every 15 minutes, they will come and try to wake me up. I will not wake up. Everybody used to say, you keep a fire, you keep a cracker under his pillow and burst it also, he will not wake up. He's such a heavy sleeper. So, but then, after coming in touch with Srila Prabhupada, what has happened? Every day we have to wake up. Morning 3:30 we wake up. Take bath, get ready, come for Mangalarati at 4:30. This has become our life. Simply on a powerful Acharya's calling, simply on the calling of Srila Prabhupada, all the sleeping living entities are waking up early in the morning. Just like Sukadeva Goswami is saying, what is he saying? Tushnim Shayanaha. Silently they are all sleeping, all the students. Tushnim Shayanaha Pragyata. Earlier they were all sleeping silently. But Brahmana Nyamatyaye. But then upon the calling of a great Acharya, they all wake up and they start engaging in study of the Vedic scriptures. They start reciting the holy name of Krishna. This is the symptom of a powerful Acharya. Powerful Acharya means he is able to awaken the sleeping conditioned souls to spiritual reality. So, when we awaken to that spiritual reality, upon the calling of a powerful Acharya, then we can understand the true position of Krishna. As it is described in today's verse, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swachanda Shaktim. He is completely independent. He is not an ordinary material person like us. He is not even like any of the other devatas. So Krishna, Narayana or Vishnu, he is completely transcendental. Although he may come to this material world, he may appear exactly like an ordinary human being. Whether it was Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, Parasurama, they all appeared and acted like ordinary human beings. But that does not mean that they are under the control of the three modes of material nature. In fact, when the Rajasuya Yajna was being performed in Indraprastha by Yudhishthira Maharaj, the Rajasuya Yajna is a very elaborate yajna. One person alone cannot do it. So Yudhishthira Maharaj enlisted the support of many people. All his 4 brothers were also engaged in various activities. Arjuna was engaged in some activity, Bhima was engaged in cooking, somebody else was engaged in receiving all the guests, like that. Duryodhana was entrusted with the treasury to keep accounts, how much money is spent, how much money is received, etc. Karna was engaged in giving charity because he was very famous for giving charity. Like that he engaged, Yudhishthira Maharaj engaged different people in different things. Lord Krishna also came to the Rajasuya Yajna, and he also took upon himself one service in that Rajasuya Yajna. What did Krishna do? Krishna was engaged in washing the feet of every person who came to that Rajasuya Yajna. Can you imagine that? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is washing the feet of everyone, all the invitees to the Rajasuya Yajna. So, this action of Krishna is exactly like that of an ordinary human being. Ordinary human beings, when some great saintly people visit their homes or wherever, what they will do, they will wash their feet. Why? To get punya, to wash away their sinful reactions. Krishna is also acting like that. He is also washing the feet of all the saintly people who are coming to the Rajasuya Yajna. But he is not doing it to wash away sins. Sins can never touch Krishna. And he has no attraction to gain punya. Krishna is always transcendental. He has got nothing to do with papa or punya. Papa, punya, sinful activities, pious activities, these are all within the purview of the three modes of material nature. Sattva-guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. But Krishna is beyond all of them. So what does he have to do with papa and punya? Krishna was setting an example of how one has to humbly serve spiritual personalities. That was Krishna personally setting an example for us to follow. So these activities of Krishna, where he acted exactly like an ordinary human being, marrying 16,000 princesses, building a palace and ruling over Dwaraka, all common people's activities. Externally, it looks like an ordinary person's activity. Although Krishna may act like that, still Krishna is transcendental. To be able to comprehend this and perceive this, Krishna is acting like an ordinary human being does not mean that he is an ordinary human being. He is beyond all of this. Dhanur Vyati Mahendram, just like the rainbow which is existing, which is sustaining its shape without the support of a rope, like that Krishna also manifests his pastimes and his form without the need to take the support of the three modes of material nature. So all of Krishna's activities are transcendental. To be able to understand and perceive and to be able to comprehend this, what is required? What is required is that the light lamp of knowledge has to be lit in our heart by a powerful Acharya who has come in that particular, who has descended in that particular age to carry out that function, to enlighten the conditioned souls, which is what Srila Prabhupada has done. So Prabhupada is able to, because of Prabhupada's kripa, we are able to understand that Krishna is Swachanda Shaktim, Atmanubhutyanugata Prapancham Swachanda Shaktim. Krishna may descend, but he will descend in his own form. Sambhavami Atma Mayaya, Krishna says. When Krishna descends, he is not dependent upon the laws of karma, he is not dependent upon the three modes of material nature. On the other hand, he is completely independent. And his form and his activities, everything is transcendental. And that is why Krishna says in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita that anyone who understands that all his activities are transcendental. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo janati tattvataha. One who understands that the birth and activities of Krishna, although appearing like that of ordinary human beings, it is divyam. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo janati tattvataha. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. Such a person, at the end of his life, he will be liberated. He doesn't have to take repeated birth and death within this material world. Such a simple thing. To understand Krishna's birth and activities are transcendental. That people in Kali Yuga cannot understand because all of them are asleep. Only upon the intervention of a powerful Acharya like Srila Prabhupada, are people waking up to this reality that Krishna is not an ordinary person. His birth and activities are transcendental. And anybody who has the great fortune of coming in touch with Prabhupada's books and developing this understanding, no more repeated birth and death for him in this material world. So that is why Bhagavatam also is talking about Kardama Muni, because Kardama Muni is a greatly self-realized person. He is a Mahayogi. He meditated he performed Kriya Yoga for 10,000 years, and he had direct darshan of Vishnu. What is his realization? Atmanubhutyanugata prapancham swachchanda shaktam kapilam prapadye. So his realization is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and all his incarnations, they are all completely swachchanda shakti, they are all transcendental. They descend on the strength of their own energies. They are not dependent upon the material energy like us, and therefore their descent and activities are transcendental. Similarly, Swachchanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye, Kapila Deva has descended as the son of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, but his descent is not like that of ordinary human beings. All of us who are born out of the force of karma, we do not choose our parents. We do not choose the country of our birth. We cannot even choose what gender we are going to be born in. But Kapila Deva is not like that. He has chosen his parents. He has chosen the place of his descent. He has chosen what form he will take, what name he will take. Everything he has chosen, and he has appeared. And therefore, Swachchanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. He has come to this material world out of his own accord, completely independent and maintaining his transcendental position without coming under the influence of the three modes of material nature. This is the transcendental position of Kapila Deva. So I'll stop here. If anybody has any question or comment, we can discuss. We'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Natai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.